Okay, so this is a video I didn't really expect to be making today, but it's extremely important, and I think everyone should know about what's happening here. Essentially, it sounds like Battlefield is changing forever. The article here from GameSpot is the only one that I can find, and this was linked from the Battlefield Twitter account. Battlefield franchise undergoes major shakeup. EA announces a restructuring of its development teams as it looks to grow Battlefield. So, to give you some highlights, the DICE general manager, Oscar Gabrielson, he's moving on and he's resigned. He's been replaced by somebody else. Ripple Effect are being given more of a say in what happens in the future of Battlefield. There's a new studio being set up in Seattle that's going to help work on the Battlefield franchise. And Vince Zampella, the guy that you might know from Respawn Entertainment, he's obviously done work on Call of Duty before, Medal of Honor, obviously Titanfall and Apex Legends. He's now becoming the boss of Battlefield. So it's an absolutely huge shakeup. And we're going to go through the entire article and hopefully it'll explain what that's going to mean for 2042. 2042 is not going away. It just, the way that Battlefield's being developed and the way it's being looked at is very different now moving forward. So let's get into the article. So we'll go through all of this here, but it says perhaps the biggest change being announced today is EA formally announcing the creation of a Battlefield universe that will seemingly span multiple games and offerings, which will be developed by different studios across North America and Europe. That's never happened before. In fact, no, I'm gonna take that back. That has happened only very recently, and it's happened once. We've had one of the characters from Battlefield 4, Irish, he has come into 2042. That's really one of the only examples I can think of where someone has moved between games. And that now looks as if it's going to be pretty normal. The creation of a Battlefield universe. That's never happened before. DICE general manager Oscar Gabrielson is leaving the company to pursue a new endeavor. The shakeup includes Respawn's Vince Zampella taking on a bigger role as the new overall boss of the Battlefield franchise, while Halo designer Marcus Leto, I think it's Leto, that's how you say it, is building a new development team in Seattle focused on injecting more storytelling into the Battlefield universe. Ripple Effect, that's formerly DICE LA, the developer of 2042's Portal mode, is developing a new Battlefield experience in the Battlefield 2042 universe. That bit is really important. That bit there from Ripple Effect. I've read the article already, but this bit's really important. So Ripple Effect will continue to make Portal for 2042, but they're also being given the chance to make something else for Battlefield 2042. And I'm putting my money on a free-to-play BR mode, but we'll read through the rest of the article. In the immediate future, EA told GameSpot that DICE, Ripple Effect, and Leto's new Seattle studio will work together to expand upon and improve Battlefield 2042. The other Battlefield games and experiences in the works are meant to serve as extensions, to a degree, of the new Battlefield universe that EA is trying to create. There are no specifics available about the new games and experiences that EA intends to create or when they will release as of yet. So that there, again, super important. At the moment, initially, DICE, Ripple Effect, and another new studio in Seattle, they're all going to work together, and they're going to work together on improving and expanding Battlefield 2042. So that means probably more updates coming out, more bug fixes and stuff like that. And then once we get into early 2022, once the season pass kicks in, that'll mean new content like maps, weapons, vehicles, and all that kind of stuff. That's pretty normal stuff for Battlefield. But going beyond that, these studios in the future, they're all going to be working on a Battlefield universe of games and all sort of working together. We know that the Seattle studio is going to work on like narrative and storytelling, so I'm assuming DICE and Ripple Effect are going to work together to work on the core Battlefield games that will come out. The article doesn't go into a huge amount of detail, but it gives us a lot of ideas about where things could go. So it says here, as for Leto, the man who designed Master Chief, obviously coming from Halo, and played a major role in making Halo what it is today, he's heading up a new unnamed studio in the Seattle area. It will collaborate with DICE and Ripple Effect with the aim of expanding the narrative, storytelling, and character development opportunities in the Battlefield franchise. There is no word on what this means in terms of specific products or strategies, however. So this bit here, Leto Studio is all going to be about storytelling and narrative. And that's something that's kind of not really very present with 2042. Obviously, we don't have like a campaign as such. We don't have a single-player campaign. But we know there's this thing called the world of 2042 happening around. We've got all the different specialists. They're different characters within that story. And apparently we're going to learn more about that story as time goes on. But moving further beyond 2042, it looks as if this studio here in Seattle is going to mainly focus on building out narratives and storylines for future Battlefield games. In a big shift, Battlefield 2042 did not have a single-player mode, instead opting to focus on 3 multiplayer pillars: All-Out Warfare, Portal, and Hazard Zone. Leto previously started an independent studio called V1 Interactive that made a sci-fi shooter called Disintegration. This game failed to find an audience, and V1 closed its doors. Leto was hired by EA earlier this year, but it wasn't until today that we learned what he was working on. So that's really interesting. So then it goes on to talk about different experiences and stuff like that. So Byron Bede, the longtime Call of Duty veteran who EA hired earlier this year to grow the Battlefield series as the shepherd of its long-term strategy and business decisions, said Leto and his team in Seattle will expand Battlefield 2042's narrative across a variety of experiences. These will lay the foundation for storytelling opportunities now and well into the future. And whatever Leto's team creates, it will show up in later seasons for Battlefield 2042 and beyond. So later seasons for 2042, and then beyond, I'm guessing we're looking at newer games in the future. Another big move, Battlefield 2042 Portal developer Ripple Effect will continue to support Portal while it gets to work on a new experience in the Battlefield 2042 universe. Ripple Effect boss Christian Grass told GameSpot that he's unable to comment on what Ripple Effect is developing outside of Portal, although if I were to hazard a guess, I'm going to say it's a free-to-play Battle Royale mode. I think that's something that Battlefield is really missing, that free-to-play hook to get people to come into the franchise, get those player numbers up, and transition people across to playing the other modes. Warzone has been extremely successful in doing that, and Activision has identified that, and you'll notice that with that franchise, there are more and more teams working on those experiences. And I've got a very funny feeling that that is exactly what EA is doing here with Battlefield as well. So now we'll move on to Vince Zampella. His new position is on top of his existing managerial responsibilities at Respawn, which includes overseeing the ongoing efforts for live service titles Apex Legends and the studio's other unannounced projects, one of which is rumored to be a sequel to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. That's really interesting. So it looks like Zampella at Respawn, those things aren't going to change. Respawn's not taking over the Battlefield franchise or anything like that. But it's just that Zampella, who heads up the Respawn studio and does a lot of other stuff for EA, actually, looks like he's now getting the reins to the Battlefield franchise. So that's really cool, I guess. So apparently the reason for that, Laura Miele says, that is the chief operating officer for EA. She said that he's the right man to lead the Battlefield franchise into the future, building off his success with Call of Duty Medal of Honor and Apex Legends. He creates culture-defining entertainment that resonates beyond games. Together with Bede, Miele believes the right team is in place to help the Battlefield franchise grow and thrive. Miele went on to say that EA now has the people with strong operational experience running its studios across North America and Europe who are contributing to the newly established Battlefield universe. So this is actually quite important, and we should probably mention this. There have been a lot of shuffles of developers and producers and just generally people in charge around Battlefield for a long time now. Ever since Battlefield 5 sort of started to, like when it came out and wasn't received very well, there's been a lot of change at the DICE studio, and the DICE development team is very much not the same. But also above that, the management layer that sits at the top, there are a lot of people that have changed positions over there. So it wouldn't surprise me if all of that was being done in sort of relation to this point now where we are, so that they could announce that they're going to create some kind of Battlefield universe. And all that work's been happening over the last 3 or 4 years, I would guess. So Zampella says EA plans to grow significantly in terms of the number of developers working on the Battlefield franchise across the company. So that's not just at DICE, that's not just at Ripple Effect, that's across the entirety of EA. And he called on developers to have a look at EA's open positions and consider putting in an application. Zampella wouldn't comment on specifics as it relates to the new types of Battlefield games that EA might develop in the future or the cadence for when they might be released. However, he teased that the Battlefield universe is rich with opportunity both from a storytelling perspective and as a universe where our teams can create innovative gameplay experiences. Truly, anything is possible. So that to me just says that EA is trying to take Battlefield from what it is currently and open it right up. Stop saying that it's just like individual games that exist every 2 years. They're trying to create links between each game and build out a storyline behind it so that they can branch off and create a new game, but it still links back to the universe in the center. It's really quite eye-opening, this. Like I said, I did not expect to have to make this video today, so I'm just as surprised as probably a lot of you guys are. And a really good mention here, EA CEO Andrew Wilson has said the company may eventually develop a free-to-play Battlefield game. I think that links off to something else that we've seen. Free-to-play, Battlefield free-to-play game could happen someday, but not soon. EA said it probably makes sense to offer a free-to-play Battlefield game. So he said that in the past. And whilst Vince Zampella stopped short of confirming this, he said the company is exploring every possibility as it looks to grow Battlefield to help it reach its full potential. That's really quite like a poignant quote there. Reach its full potential. I don't think Battlefield has reached its full potential for a long, long time. If we go back to like the Battlefield 3 days, I would say Battlefield 3 was like the pinnacle of like fan response to a Battlefield game. I heard once when I was at a DICE event that the customer satisfaction score for Battlefield 3 was as high as it ever was for the franchise. It was like 95%. And then we had Battlefield 4. That came out really poorly, but had a really strong tail to it and is widely considered to be one of the best Battlefield games. After that, we had Hardline, which just didn't really fit. Then we had Battlefield 1, which was a massive commercial success, and it really caught people's attention, but it really dropped off in player numbers very quickly after launch and just didn't really have the kind of support that it needed. And then Battlefield 5, that very much felt like a game that was made because it needed to be made, as opposed to a game that DICE actually wanted to make. And then we've got 2042, that's also had a really, really poor launch. But let's give DICE some credit. The first 3 patches they've put out have definitely improved the experience and made it better. So, again, it's getting better slowly, but we're still at a very bad point. So, if Vince Zampella is saying that the company is exploring every possibility as it looks to grow Battlefield to reach its full potential, that's really important, because I don't think Battlefield's reached its full potential for years. So if it can get to that point somewhere in the near future, I'm not saying it's going to happen with 2042. I don't know if they're going to be able to turn around 2042 the way they need to. If they support it like Battlefield 4, I think they've got a really good chance, but it may be that in the future, the next Battlefield game, that they're going to really push the boat out and try and produce something and release something that works really well. And Bede says that EA has devised a long-term plan to support Battlefield going forward, but before the company gets into specifics about where the series is headed, the first job is to support Battlefield 2042 and expand it through a live service offering. So that there is really reassuring to hear, because a lot of people have been saying already, sort of saying, oh, they're going to cancel support for 2042 because it's not done very well. That doesn't appear to be the case whatsoever. It just looks like 2042's had a really bad launch, and EA understands that. They're going to make out patches and stuff like that. And then it's good to know that they're planning to support it through their live service. That's good. And then just at the bottom of the article here, we have a really good wrap-up. And this is kind of where I'm actually thinking, talking about what's actually going to happen from this announcement. It's being framed as a really positive thing, like an exciting part for Battlefield. But it also mentions, like, there's no way to know that at this stage just what the outcome will look like. Will we get annualized Battlefield releases? I really hope we don't go down that route. I think Battlefield works really well releasing every 2 years, because we get to have the experience for a longer period, and it doesn't always feel like the moment that Battlefield game launches that the next one is going to turn up in like 9 months' time, or we're going to find out about it's going to be revealed in 9 months, and then, you know, you're sort of like chasing yourself along. There's always going to be another Battlefield game. The fact that it exists, that there is a period of time that it can go through for a couple of years, and it can change vastly in that period of time, I think that works really well for Battlefield, especially with the scale that it's trying to adopt. Then it mentions a free-to-play Battle Royale game. I think that is actually really likely, because if you look at Warzone, the success of Warzone, it cannot be understated. You can say what you like about Warzone, and I know it's very divisive, that some people think it's really good, some people think it's really bad, some people just don't like the way that it's taking over, but whatever. You cannot deny its success. It was very, very, very popular, and it was free to play. So it obviously brought in a load more players than it would have if it hadn't been free. So if EA wants to try and replicate that within Battlefield, I'm really not opposed to that. And I think it could work really well for like creating a universe around Battlefield, because you can have lots of different like characters and weapons and places all coming together for some kind of free-to-play Battle Royale experience. And then it also goes on to say, what about DICE? Will DICE have the opportunity to work on non-Battlefield games? I mean, the last non-Battlefield game that DICE released was Star Wars Battlefront 2, and then we had Mirror's Edge Catalyst and Battlefront 1, and then I think Mirror's Edge before that. But DICE has always been known as the company that makes Battlefield. So the fact that today we now know there's going to be a new Seattle studio, we've got Ripple Effect over in Los Angeles, and we've got DICE over in Stockholm that are all going to be working on the franchise together, that's actually really exciting because it's not just one main team working on the core game anymore. It's going to be multiple different studios. So I would actually say that, yeah, it is kind of like an exciting future for Battlefield. Definitely, at least at this point in time right now where we are in November 2021, I think this announcement today will largely not make much of a difference until probably mid next year, because obviously the studios are going to need time to start working towards this goal that's now been set by EA of creating a Battlefield universe. But at least we know for Battlefield 2042 that things are going in the right direction and we will get support for the game. So yeah, hope you enjoyed my ramble here. I just wanted to bring it to you because honestly, it just completely caught me by surprise. I did not expect to be reading this today. It's absolutely incredible stuff, but I hope you enjoyed the video. Drop a like if you enjoyed it. Share it with your friends who like Battlefield so they know what's going on, because only I found out about an hour ago. And yeah, looks like we'll be moving forward with 2042 and then into the Battlefield universe. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you soon.